There you are. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, I'm Jet Ski Chuck. We dive into the most disturbing videos, creepy TikToks, and flat out strange, mysterious theories from across the entire internet. 2 things we need to do before we get started. 1, hit that like button. 2, hit that subscribe button. With that out the way, let's dive in.
An alien invasion, aka a demonic judgment, is extremely biblical. We just don't know what we're looking for in the text. Let me explain, but first watch this.
In Luke 21:11, Jesus makes this mysterious statement, which theologians, even Greek translators, they haven't dared to translate because it's just so weird. And in that verse, Jesus said at the very end of the age, there would be great sights from the heavens and there would be fearful sights. Well, my specialty is Greek. And when Jesus said there will be great sights from the heavens, the word from is the word apo. And in Greek, it describes things descending out of the heavens. Wow. So Jesus didn't tell us what it was, but he said at the end of the age, people will begin to see things coming out of the heavens. Then he said, fearful sights. And in Greek, that is the word phobotron. It's a derivative of the word phobos, which means fear. But when it becomes phobotron, the Greeks only use that word one way and no other way. It is the word for monsters. And that is a literal translation. And that's why translators never translated it right. They couldn't understand what this monster thing was. So when you put it together, Jesus said at the end of the age, people are going to see things, apo, descending directly out of the heavens. And there's going to be the appearance of monsters in the end of the age. Well, that's what was going on before the flood. Exactly.
So when you start looking at religious art, you'll notice 2 things. The harlot of Babylon, who we've been talking about, is actually Artemis, Diana, all of the characters that are like love, fertility goddesses, and it's gonna pretend that it's Mary. But look at what's in the sky. We've been talking about how aliens are going to come back with this Marian apparition thing, making their obsession with aliens make a lot more sense, don't you guys think? Again, you have the and what looks like aliens or spaceships. And then once again, you have her. And what is this? This is a really popular one too. Look at these. There's her again. And what looks to be a portal. I cannot believe I've never noticed this before. At the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud. This is the ESV. Most translations translate it to doors or entrances. But when you look at the Septuagint and the original wording for this can be translated as portals. Nobody's ready for this next one. For behold, I am sending among you serpents and adders that cannot be charmed. I believe that this is what the serpent being referred to is. And Isaiah also refers to fiery serpents in a different part. But see the word adders? In the King James Version, it's translated as cockatrices, which is a dragon rooster with a scorpion tail and glowing eyes. These are recorded in mythology and, of course, antique encyclopedias. There's this old newspaper that has sky cylinders, and on my old account that got taken down, I had this video where I was geeking out saying I saw a huge sky cylinder, and I posted a video of it. It was shooting out red laser beams, and what I kept saying was that the way that it moved, it was gliding or floating in a supernatural way, and that it was entering and exiting a mountain. This was far away from the city. The wind was blowing and this thing was not moving. I've never seen anything like it. It just looked like a giant cylinder, kind of like this or these. But I was suspecting that this was some kind of gov type thing. But then I was reading today. I lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, a flying scroll. Its length is 20 cubits and its width is 10 cubits. This is the curse that goes out over the face of the whole land. I immediately had the craziest flashback, and I was like, that was a flying scroll. I think that this is the book of life, but the opposite. It's for people that don't believe and don't do what they're supposed to. I think that's what part of the alien invasion is going to look like. I've always read this part and thought that it was just something symbolic in the heavens. But no, I think it's an actual scroll, and I've seen one and I didn't even realize. I think this world is a lot different than we've been taught, and I think we're going to see it very, very soon.
For context, don't believe anything you hear or see on this video. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. None of it is factual.
Oh my God, there's some amazing stumps here. Look at this.
Sticking out of the hillside are a bunch of weird brown rocks. These are petrified tree stumps. Geologists have dated these trees to around 50 million years ago. Back then, this treeless hillside would have been completely different.
There's a lot of clues here to how this forest got to be the way it is. The first is that all these stone trunks are surrounded by coal, black rock, which is a very strong signal that these trees, when they were growing in a swamp. The second clue are these radiating roots. In swamps, roots grow out and not down.
But what kind of trees were these?
These rocks are just chunky silt stones that are quite near the petrified forest. And I'm breaking them apart because I'm looking for fossil leaves. I can find the leaves that go with those trees. I can put that forest back together again. Come to Papa.
Now here we go.
Here's a close-up of that thing.
What have you got?
This is metasequoia, little needles. It's the dawn redwood. It's a conifer. And these whole sprigs will fall off as they've done here and land in the mud. This used to be mud, now it's a rock that would go with those trunks of the petrified forest.
Together, these leaves and tree trunks give us a window into the past. 50 million years ago, this dried, barren tundra was a warm, humid swamp. Covered with lotus plants, ferns, and metasequoia trees.
50 million years? Okay, buddy.
That were as tall as 150 feet. The area covered in ice today was once a massive forest that stretched all the way up to the edge of the Arctic Ocean. Water ran off the land, forming a surface layer of fresh water. Instead of sea ice, the North Pole was covered in subtropical floating ferns.
The whole time I'm watching that video, I'm like, okay, that might be a petrified tree. But what about these ancient biblical boys?
The giant, ancient petrified tree stumps. The canopy of leaves touching heaven as they fall back to earth, destined to be petrified for eternity.
Look at this. This is a giant petrified branch. Look at this. Somebody be like, oh, that's a petrified tree that fell over. Nah, that's a twig that fell off an ancient stump, bucko.
The twigs that hold the leaves that are the canopy of the ancient giant trees.
It was not just the titans or the massive ancient trees. Though perhaps if you look into the King of Wing in New Mexico, you'll find the axe that was used to cut down some of these trees, though a much smaller version. Geology really truly is nothing more than the study of hardened biology. These are not just a few examples of mushrooms that look like rocks. You can literally find hundreds and thousands of the all over the world, told to us that they're nothing more than just erosion. Much like the giant trees, they say, are nothing more than hexagonal columns spewing ancient volcanoes. They'll never replicate it again in recent times. In order for us to be sold on the lie of the theory of evolution, they had to dismiss our much larger past, the giants and all the inhabitants along with it. And as always, the parasites of this realm told us to dismiss the evidence of our eyes and ears. It was their final and most essential command. But once your eyes are truly open, you can see these mud fossils everywhere, and it is certainly no pareidolia. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Question everything.
Why so few, you say? There are not a few of these giant trees. The remnants are everywhere. Our eyes only allow us to see small glimpses of what was. But the more your eyes open, the more you realize that these ancient trees were everywhere. You see, we have been told to dismiss what our eyes have told us for so long. Erasing all truths of the old world is a vast and extensive lie that branches off into all facets of our life. The lies are numerous, and the reason for it is quite simple. Those unaware of their true past, of their true capabilities and origins, are all that much more easier to control. It's not just about giant trees. Though the giant trees for me and many others were a big eye-opener to the true beauty of this world, to what's worth uncovering, and how much of it is hidden in plain sight for us to find. They want us thinking we're just hurtling around on a spinning rock in vast sea of nothingness, and we're just lumps of cells that don't matter, and all that around us is just rock. But trust me, friends, once you start opening your eyes to the true beauty of this realm, it truly inspires you and uplifts your spirits in ways you can never imagine. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
When you see these hexagonal patterns coming down, this was a giant tree. There's even I think it's like Fungal's Cave that has these same organic structures protruding down all throughout it, the hexagonal features. So that's definitely an indicator that something was growing in the back of the day here, just like honeycombs. The hexagonal structures you see is something that we also see in nature, just like honeycombs. So is it actually that far-fetched? And how about this axe? Buddy just left the axe in the tree and dipped. He just took the axe and said, "Ah!" and just walked away. What else is that, guys? It has to be an axe. Somebody talk to me.
I came across another World's Fair, Barcelona, Spain, 1888. And once again, it's a total mind-bender. Massive Greco-Roman and Gothic-style buildings, castles, bridges, waterways, arches, even statues of solid gold. And of course, we're told it was all built in just 2 years, and then demolished. Apparently half of it was temporary, made from wood and plaster. The other half...
Do you guys see this? This is a giant fastis. I know a fastis when I see one. It's an ancient weapon, guys. If you watch my videos, we talked about fastis before. It was an ether conducting weapon. Were they shooting Kamehameha waves from it? Or Hadouken waves, energy plasma waves from it? I don't know. But it's looking like it.
Red brick, stone, marble, materials strong enough to last 1,000 years. Take the Castle of the Three Dragons, a red brick fortress built for the fair. They say it was just a cafe, right? A cafe with airship docking station infrastructure. Crenellations, not for defense, maybe for docking dirigibles. Sharp-nosed airships locking into those perfect little slits. Makes you think. Then there's El Gran Hotel Internacional, supposedly temporary, made from wood and plaster, 4 stories tall, over 630 suites, built to house 2,500 people. They say it was built in just 53 days, start to finish. Does this look like something made out of scrap wood and glue? Or does it look strong, intentional, impossible? Why build something this massive just to tear it all down? Unless it was never built for the fair, but found and rewritten into a new narrative. Follow Anomaly Africa, because these fairs weren't about the future. They were hiding the past.
Can you imagine the head guys in charge saying, all right, guys, we got to rip down all these world fairs because they're showing evidence of an advanced ancient past that we don't want people to know about. So rip them all down. I don't even want people living in these structures. Are you sure, boss? That one in that post office in Chicago is nice, man. You know, I take my family. Rip it down, Johnny. All right. You know? You gotta be evil to flat out say you gonna rip these down? There's no way. What if they're... Here's another theory. What if they didn't rip them down, but their plans were to move them, and they're saying they just ripped them down? Because a lot of these ancient structures I'm seeing could possibly be built with Legos. There's no evidence of cement that they put in them or stuff. These are just extraordinary pieces stacked. So these could be the original Legos that were dropped off by airships that I theorize about.
The giants hid in the caverns and the dens in the mountains when the trees were chopped down.
A theme you see all over the 15th century in the maps. The chopping down of trees and turning them into towers. Who, just like in this map, you see. In the bottom corners, there are 2 tree stumps. And in the right corner, you could see in demonstration a man cutting the tree down. Directly center of them is a tower that they carved out of the tree stump, just like the Devil's Tower here in America. And on top was an ornament of a new kingdom, sitting on top of the old kingdom of the B blood type bird angels and the AB animal bird type Elsiphas, who reigned over us as the highest ranking Tartarians, the enforcement and restrictors of our existence for the 4 demigod continents and the 4 false god empires. Pyramids for the Mu Empire, controlling the frequencies in the aligning of the sun. A sphinx in its making for the Lumerian hybrids. Towers. Star forts for the people on the plantations, who were all overturned by Mu, even after the star forts were built and designed to deflect the weaponized frequencies of Mu's attack. So at this time in the 1500s, energy was free everywhere. In some places more. The giants.
Map in the 1500s, show them chopping down ancient trees, conducting. What is going on here? Somebody talk to me.
Your planet is now marked for death. Your world will be consumed by the devourer. There's nothing you can do to stop him, for he is a universal force, as essential as the stars. Hold your loved ones close. Speak the words you've been afraid to speak. Use this time to rejoice and celebrate. For your time is short. I herald his beginning. I herald your end. I herald Galactus.
That's not Silver Surfer, that's Silver Skeeter, bucko.
I'm gonna get into a lot of trouble for this one, but I'm about to expose the most closely guarded secret in the world, the Coca-Cola recipe, which is apparently only known in full by 2 senior executives that aren't even allowed to travel on the same plane together. The original recipe is written by hand and stored in a vault inside the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, complete with a palm scanner, a number keypad, and a massive steel door. Built mostly for dramatic effect, as there have been several leaks of the recipe online, and you can even find the entire thing yourself on Wikipedia. The real secret is how Coca-Cola tricked the entire world into spending billions of dollars a year on fizzy sugar water. They're the largest sugar buyer in the world, and although they too spend billions on advertising, they never sell a product. They sell an idea: happiness, peace, unity, harmony. Their slogan went from open happiness in 2009 to together tastes better in 2020. It's just marketing 101. Sell the why, not the what. But was their happy messaging intentionally designed as a cover-up for a dark truth we've been conditioned to ignore? And we're not talking about the blatant health risks of drinking sugary water. We're all well aware of that, but rather what they did to get to where they are today. Coca-Cola's history stretches over a span of 130 years, dating all the way back to the late 1800s, during which time trust in the pharmaceutical system got so low that people began mixing their own elixirs of life at home as medicine. So much that homemade health elixirs boomed as a business in the 1880s, with people concocting potions using the most random ingredients and the wildest health claims. And there were no medical regulations back then, so anyone could mix anything up, come up with any claim they wanted for it, and sell it to others. This is where the infamous snake oil salesman term originated. People who sold miracle potions that didn't actually do anything. But sometimes they actually kinda did, but not for the right reasons. Among them was a popular medicine called Vin Mariani, which was essentially just red wine mixed with coca leaves, which are the main ingredient for making, you know, Scarface powder, and contain the active chemical for it. The drink allegedly cured any disease, as long as you drank 3 glasses a day. Coca leaves do suppress hunger, thirst, thirst, fatigue, and pain, so there was a bit of truth to these claims. And so people loved this drink for obvious reasons, but don't try this at home, this is for educational purposes only. Among them was pharmacist turned war veteran John Pemberton, who got hooked on it after he almost lost his life to a serious war injury. Nothing that Vin Mariani couldn't handle, which he loved so much that in 1884 he made his own version of it called French wine coca, adding caffeine-rich cola nuts to the mix, among a few other ingredients. But within 2 years, Atlanta, where he was located, passed the local prohibition bill, making the sale of booze illegal in the area. So Pemberton was forced to change the recipe and swap the wine with carbonated water. But this made the drink extremely bitter, largely due to the caffeinated cola nuts that he added, so he loaded it with a bunch of sugar to mask the taste. Little did he know, his forced changes just concocted one of the most popular beverages in all of history. His accountant came up with the iconic name, Coca-Cola, for the coca leaves, yes, those leaves, and the cola nuts, which today, Coca-Cola denies its name has anything to do with those ingredients, saying that it was just a catchy name that rolled off the tongue, going as far as to say that their drink never contained the coca part, even in the past, which is just a straight up lie, as it's a well-documented fact that it did. Just the first of many lies that Coca-Cola peddled to preserve their happy brand image. It was initially sold as a medicine, a brain tonic, and a temperance drink that relieved headaches and upset stomachs, and it was an instant flop, hitting only $50 in sales in the first year, and Pemberton passed away in 1888, not knowing the destiny that awaited his drink. Before his passing, he sold his company for a measly $2,300, which, to be fair, would be about $76,000 of today's money adjusted for inflation, but still nothing for the billions in world domination that's coming for this sugar water. Sold to Asa Candler, a businessman who stopped selling it as a medicine and instead a drink that anyone can enjoy. He reinvested all earnings into aggressive advertising, slapping the Coke logo on absolutely everything and everywhere, which seems obvious today, but was surprisingly a pretty innovative marketing strategy back then. It wasn't until 1929 that they finally removed the addictive element of coca leaves from the drink. You know, that stuff. But they already had a couple decades under their belt of getting their base audience hooked for life. Then they hijacked Christmas, literally inventing the modern Santa Claus. You know, fat jolly man in a red suit and big white beard. You ever wonder why the colors look so familiar? That's because in 1931, Coke hired a professional illustrator to draw Santa for Christmas ads. The result was the classic red suit Santa, usually seen holding a Coke, which was so successful that it became the main version of Santa we still use today. Before then, he was more often depicted as a lean, mystical, elf-like being in a green or brown suit. Using this, they associated Christmas, a highlight of anyone's childhood, with Coca-Cola, giving rise to their infamous cradle-to-grave strategy. Low-key marketing their products to kids, getting them hooked young and turning them into repeat customers for as many as their adult buying years as they can. Then in Germany, during World War II, yes, that Germany, the Coke supply from America was cut off, so Coca-Cola execs in Germany created a new recipe using leftover scraps from food waste like apple fibers and beets. The result was a drink named Fanta. Yes, Fanta was quite literally invented by nuts. As the years went on, Coke's marketing tactics started getting more questionable. More research surrounding sugar intake and links to health issues like obesity and diabetes started rolling in. And Coke poured millions into studies that casted doubt on these findings, funding schools and sponsoring the biggest athletes. Have you ever stopped to wonder why Michael Jordan, the Olympics, the FIFA World Cup, probably the most globally recognized displays of athletic performance, all have Coca-Cola as their top sponsors, almost like they're doing everything they can to distance themselves from bad health? Marketing strategies like these are so effective, they basically hypnotize us, training our brains to associate a product that might not be good for our health with good feelings like love, relaxation, and high performance. Getting their initial customers hooked with addictive chemicals, hijacking Santa marketing to kids, outright denying their questionable roots, funding misleading anti-health studies, and picking up sponsors that quite honestly have nothing to do with their product. And this isn't even touching upon what they did in Mexico. Let me know if you'd want to take a deep dive into that. And hey, I ain't trying to hate on Coke. They're obviously an incredibly successful business and worked hard to get to where they are today. But ethically questionable strategies like these are pretty much commonplace among every multi-billion-dollar corporation. Just remember to question everything. Keep your mind open, always follow the money, and ask yourself, does this make any sense?
I will admit, a sausage egg McMuffin with McDonald's Coke is just something else. Man, it's delicious. I normally get an extra sausage on mines and an extra hash brown. Sometimes when I'm really hungry, I'll put the hash brown inside the sandwich and take a giant bite. I know I shouldn't eat it. I need to eat better, but what can I do? It tastes so good.
Have y'all seen that video of the Cartel cemetery? These people are building multi-million-dollar mansions just to be buried in. Look at this.
These aren't houses. These are mausoleums. tombs, like the tombs of Egypt for the pharaohs, except these hold the narco kingpins, and each one built larger to one-up their competitors. It truly is unbelievable. The amount of money that the cartel makes, they have so much money they don't even know what to do with it, to the point where they build million-dollar mansions to be buried in, monuments to some of the most evil people that have ever walked the earth here in Sinaloa, Mexico. All propped up by a that's as corrupt as they are.
So much money, they don't even know what to do with it. That is insane.
We're talking entire neighborhoods, but underground?
And the wild part, these people have no clue.
Seriously?
This whole thing supposedly kicked off back in the late 70s, when nuclear tensions were peaking. Intelligence agencies secretly greenlit this classified defense initiative, basically a backup plan for humanity if things went nuclear up top. Their idea? Simple build full-on towns underground, complete with roads, stores, schools, a mirror of normal society. But then they hit a problem: no people. And here's where it gets dark. They allegedly took hundreds of kids from orphanages, ones young enough to forget where they came from. They raised them below, told them the surface world was destroyed, and this was all that remained. But here's the kicker: they never stopped. Decades later, it's still running. A massive social experiment with thousands of people living beneath us, completely unaware the real world is just above their heads.
This is a theory, not a fact. We're talking entire neighborhoods.
That's a crazy theory.
That every single person should be asking. HOW. With my anatomy. Because I ain't wearing any EG cap, and I'm not wearing an oximeter, and I'm not... So, how are they doing it? And if I put my phone in a Faraday bag, how are you still acquiring for data acquisition and ubiquitous health monitoring? It's law. Right now today, it is law. How are you doing that? Contactless radar. 1971 W-band. Science Direct. 1700s. Galvanic skin response. So, my channel was a video blog with my friend. But because of the job I worked and the family I grew up with, I landed right in the middle of the biggest psychological operation storm because of all the lying that they've been doing since 2016 forward, with all these different track and trace apps and all these different systems of watching people react to the cue and neural network nudging, because a bunch of them are already adhesed in their tissue with organ on a chip, system on a chip. They're augmented. They're not human anymore. They're different. And that doesn't mean they have a chip in their head. They could have augmented their biology instead to react to the natural plasma of our atmosphere, but only for them. Now, how is that possible? Did you lie about human anatomy? Yeah. Does that mean that you stopped studying how to control it? No. Wow. So you had no oversight for the last 150 years of playing with humans under their skin. And to this day, when I say HOW, they still have no idea. You're kidding me, no? It's that simple. The human body is electrical and magnetic. Human anatomy didn't disappear. They took it away to socially engineer their version of human husbandry, precision eugenics. Now I'm watching grown adults jam their head in the sand because they can't even acknowledge the targeting, biomedical, or biotelemetry for our drone systems with Pentagon Law of War Manual directives that go back to 2012 as well. Same FCC and FDA.
They're hacking our biofield.
Human husbandry. Raising humans like beef cows or cows in general. If you don't have your own biology, your own neurology, there's nothing of their system wearables, software that you're going to do. They're 30 to 40 years ahead of you right now today, and not in your military. Black Projects starts from there so that they always have better equipment. I am deeply disturbed at how many people are still dancing in circles. They will take you out. You can't feel your own skin. Where's your piloerection? Yeah, welcome to cognitive neuroscience. There was never any reason that is good to lie to other humans about their immune system, their interstitium, their crystalline fascia, the way that the lobes of the brain work, and the way that you generate piezoelectricity with biotensegrity just walking around. Oh, it's a morpho field. That's your biology, your field that you generate with your blood flow and your breath and your heart beating. Yeah, turn all that off. So here's my message to humans until I get back. You need to get over yourselves. The aura has existed throughout time because of what I just said. It's biological, anatomical. It's how they do what they do with synthetic biology. Dear Lord in heaven, if it's good enough for a Nobel Prize, where are you? If it's been on the NIH for 10 years already, why can't you talk about it like an adult? No, leave it nebulous. Let's make them fight over religions. Well, that's hilarious. That's exactly what the Flynn Network has planned. That's hilarious. That's what the engineer just said a year ago. It's so funny to watch really incredible people struggle to communicate with one another.
Guys, a lot of this is running over my head, but I'm starting to grasp it a little bit. Piezoelectric subconscious. And I guess we harness that when we're walking. It's getting interesting.
Until the general public can admit their anatomy that they're using for all this, we're in trouble. Because people are out there now saying that, oh, the same type of goofiness, click your heels, you can have feels. Which I'm sure, looking at our community, they're like, well, isn't that what you tell people? No, what we tell people with education is that they're under people's skin. They are manipulating people, and that you gotta fight to get out from under the signal. And if they focus on you with enough of these different satellites, you fry. They won't admit that either. It's a slow kill system. I am very uncomfortable, I'll just be honest, because on the other side, mathematics-wise, well, the neural dust doesn't hold with wireless sensor networks as long. Okay. But they have other ways to set up the neural networks that do hold, like they tattooed the inside of my daughter's heart tissue. And in the same way, this other dude over here, who's a creator and founder of these special lenses for the eyeballs, which is what John Flynn was partially in trouble for, helping that DOD analyst because they were looking through her eyeballs. The general public doesn't even understand that frequency, they can hear the word frequency, but beyond that, they're lost. And then they want to argue lawfare and all these things. And what is being sold to them with both of these directions that different research is going on, there's no nano, they're not augmenting people, it's all just a distraction. What they're really doing is synchronizing your bioelectricity to their synthetic grid. They have cyborgs, prosthetics, exoskeletons, and augmented humans for 15 years, okay? So while I appreciate the ideation of we just have to get our frequency together and phase lock and be all 0 point, none of you are. The closest that I can get, I gotta be fasting outside, enough oxygen, holding the node and ley line sequencing in my front lawn until the system will physically push me over, cut the oxygen off, and throat punch me from the inside out. Oh, well, that's just you. Oh, really?
There's ways we gotta counteract them fighting our biofield is what I'm starting to get at. Like, they're able to tap into our subconscious conscious field is what I'm starting to get by watching her.
Alright, I keep trying to make it home, but I just keep coming across stuff. This model right here, it's not just a relaying traffic data. It's a frequency relay node. My scan showed it pushes a low C hum. That tone hits your body, sacral and solar chakras. Translation, it influences your motivational and gut instinct. It pulses behavioral nudges, slight passive, but over time, it builds patterns of apathy, hesitation, self-doubt, a resonance feedback loop. And when I stood here, it flagged me, broke its pattern. All right, this one right here. This one looks harmless, but it acts like a field drape. Dueling emotional expression, it flattens the energy around you. That lump in your throat feeling, that's your throat chakra being compressed by design. Your joy, your voice, your expression power gets muffled, not silenced, just slightly dampened. And over time, it adds up. But right here, they always gotta have these right near these, you know? All right, so this mural, it wasn't a coincidence either. The butterfly is a field harmonizer. Its symmetry, colors, and geometry mirror back higher states of consciousness. My energy bounced off that wall, amplified, anchored, redirected. The mural is acting like a soul memory lock. So when I walked through this area, I didn't just decode the signal, I changed it. So if you're wondering what all this means, it's simple. The grid is active, the boxes speak, and some of us were meant to wake it up. Don't be afraid to stand in your signal.
Can suddenly see how the human voice has potential to create infinitely. That with our voice, we have the potential to create everything and anything we can imagine. Everything in creation spins and vibrates. Everything has its own prime resonance frequency. Everything. Sound is the source of all creation. Sound and resonance is responsible for everything. It is the breath of the Creator, the prime resonance frequency, and the source code for everything in creation, including our DNA. Check out Dan Winter's work on that as well, how cymatics and sound helps to form and shape our DNA and the structure of our DNA based on the cymatics. And that word cymatics, it comes from Hans Jenny in the 50s and 60s, the brilliant work that he did and showed us how sound and resonance is responsible for everything in creation. This is the most basic fundamental demonstration how sound and resonance manifests into physical form. And I just cannot get enough of it. I can watch it millions of times. Every frequency has its own specific shape, a prime resonance frequency. Are you only looking at a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional effect?
This looks like there's something up to go no good, like a Solomon seal or something. Looks like we got a little Hebrew there. Yeah, this can't be too good.
And then Eric Larson is the guy that created the cymoscope, and this is when you can suddenly see how the human voice has potential to create infinitely. That with our voice, we have the potential to create everything and anything we can imagine. That we are indeed creators. And remember, every thought you have also has a frequency and a vibration, as a resonance. Just like your voice. And some of these pictures, the images of this cymoscope images, tell us that it was these sounds, the images of the sound, that actually inspired religious symbols. That beautiful cross in a circle at the center of some of these cymatic photographs give us a very clear indication that the creators of the religious symbols knew exactly what they were talking about, that the source of creation is sound itself. And that takes us to what sound does. Sound pretty much does everything you can imagine because it's a source of creation. This is from Hans Jenny's brilliant video, Cymatics. This is powder on a metal plate. It's not a liquid or a jelly. It's powder. You can see landscapes being formed here over extended periods of time. Mountains can form, valleys, volcanoes, all to do with the sound of the earth coming out of the earth.
Here is the effect of vibration on a specific substance, lycopodium powder, or spores of the club moss. We have strewn it uniformly on a diaphragm of stretched paper with a diameter of about 30 centimeters, which we now excite by vibration. This causes the powder to clump, and the more intense the vibration, the more piles there are. If the note is louder, that is to say, if the amplitude is increased, these masses of powder move to the center and make a kind of dust cloud there. They are not at rest, but in a state of continuous motion.
What is going on? Because we look at how these two fuse right here, that is interesting.
But in a state of continuous motion. We can see a large circular shape forming in the middle and continuously moving. Sometimes it is whipped up into a cloud, as it is now, and sometimes it reverts to the solid dust particle form. These changes are caused by the differences in the intensity of the tone, that is, by the different amplitudes. In this experiment, the frequency, that is to say, the number of vibrations per second, is the same. And now we see the circular form and everything in a definite pattern of movement.
So the original people of Australia have a creation story that says time began when the supernatural beings awoke and broke through the surface of the earth. So imagine the surface of the earth being something like this, that metal plate being the surface of the earth, and the supernatural beings broke through the surface of the earth, and they created the surface of the earth with 3 sacred songs. So it's interesting that I linked this to the Aboriginal people or original people of Australia and the 3 sacred songs, and it's very similar to this picture that I took from an aeroplane flying over Western Australia, and you can start seeing how the kind of landscape would have been formed from the cymatics of the sound of the earth itself.
So that's Australia lore. 3 giants broke through the earth and sung a sacred song. Interesting.
Ancient civilizations understood sound and frequency, and they used it for everything. They used it as a tool, and they also used it to control and manipulate humanity. This is nothing new. We know by now that the pineal gland is pretty much what represents the all-seeing eye of Horus. It's a receiver, it's a transmitter, it's a powerful tool that we should be using, but we're not because it was manipulated with. The medicine wheel is a cross in a circle that represents sound, that primordial source of sound. That shows that the Native American healers knew that sound could cure and could heal. Royal Raymond Rife, you should know by now, that cured with the man that found the cure with sound and resonance, and were converted to electric impulse. Lakovsky, the multiple wave oscillator, that has got an incredible record of curing. Sound continues to amaze us. Sound can levitate. By now, you would have seen this many times, just a very quick idea that sound actually does levitate things. But this is not how the ancients used to levitate the very big, heavy objects. This is a very different technique used here. This is just pressure waves that can levitate things, very light objects. But it does give you the ability to imagine that sound actually levitates. John Keeley levitated stuff and drilled sound holes with sound in 1888 already. Peter Davy boiled water with sound since 1940. Sound creates what's known as a star in a jar, called sonoluminescence. When you take a sphere of water and you expose it to certain frequencies, it gives off a very, very bright light at the center of the water, called a star in a jar, which is just absolutely not.
Yeah, that Solum science, that's fascinating. Makes you wonder how stars can be created in water.
Really not quite what it is. And sound creates hurricanes. There are two guys in 2003 that lodged a patent to create hurricanes out of sound. Believe it or not. Luc Montagnier, 2011, spontaneously generated DNA in water with sound frequencies. This is just spectacular stuff, right? So now you can see how we can manifest things. We become creators and can manifest anything with sound. I guess this is probably one of the best descriptions of the nature of our reality and around us. The fractal, multidimensional, toroidal nature of reality. That's a mouthful. This is what a complete and balanced toroidal magnetic field looks like. And what it does, it has an accretion disk in the middle. There you can see that yellow accretion disk. That's the center of the magnetic field. Whichever way you turn it, it's the same. As above, so below. We start to understand some of these basic fundamentals of creation, all coming from the breath of God, the breath of the Creator, the words that we utter. Everything that we say and create has the same effect, creating these complete, perfect magnetic fields. This is some of the most beautiful new work of viewing, being able to actually see what a magnetic field looks like through the Faro lens. This is quite a new discovery, only about 10 years old. Now we can actually see what magnetic fields look like. This is when you look at a torus. This is what a torus magnetic field looks like. You can see the magnetic fields. Some people would call this the ley lines on the surface of the earth. You can actually see the magnetic fields. So I'm suggesting that people that are reading ley lines are actually picking up the magnetic fields that crisscross the toroidal field of our planet. When you look at the cone-shaped magnetic field under a ferrocell, look at this. When you take a ferrocell and you put it over a speaker, like a speaker magnet, look what it does. These beautiful cone shapes that face the middle, just like what?
Wow. So he's suggesting that the magnetic fields are actually the ley lines of the earth. That's an interesting theory.
Just like this guy's wristwatch. Can you start seeing why I'm suggesting that these guys were using technology? It was in their wristwatches, they had the cones, all to do with magneticism and sound. We just never saw it like that until we got the ferrocell given to us. And when you bring a magnet towards a ferrofluid, what does the ferrofluid do? It forms beautiful cones and just stick right out the ferrofluid. And now you start seeing how sound and magneticism plays a role in nature, in structuring the flowers and the shapes of trees, and everything around us is driven by sound and the magnetic fields that actually create the shapes around us. And this is where we realize that sound and magneticism is inextricably connected. It's sound that creates magnetic fields, and moving magnetic fields create electricity. It's in that order that creation seems to happen. So we don't live in an electromagnetic universe, we live in a magneto-electric universe. So magnets give off sound. We all know what speakers are. So there you go, you got electricity, it comes out of a plug, it runs down a wire, it goes into a speaker, a magnet, the magnet reacts, and the magnet makes the air move and creates sound. And the reverse is possible as well. It works one way and it works the other way. And this is where we start getting into the real understanding of some of the masters. Everything manifests as a torus in a toroidal field, and including sound. And this is what sound looks like when it manifests as a toroidal field. Sound, just like everything else, manifests as a toroidal field, as a torus. And this is why when our hearts beat, we create a toroidal field around our body. And that toroidal field creates an electromagnetic field around our body. And
they say that our heart, if you unravel your heart, it's a vortex. When they unraveled it, they realized that it was a vortex.
So it goes. This is what the toroidal fields look like, or that are created by the sounds we make when we speak. And phenomenal research and work has been done to show us what the different toroidal shapes and fields look like of different letters and different sounds, especially vowels. And then as we speak, these toroidal fields that we manufacture and we create with our mouths, infinite forms, infinite shapes, infinite creativity that we manifest, actually become scalar waves and scalar technology that go into all of creation and permeate all of creation instantly. It doesn't take light years for the thoughts we have or the words we speak to permeate all of creation. It happens instantaneously because sound and resonance traverses all of creation instantly. Not like light that takes time to travel through what we believe to be the cosmos. And here the toroidal shapes of color, incredible work, shows us that the different kind of structures and toroids that color actually creates and how it manifests in different and the various sacred geometrical patterns that we've become familiar with. And here's the brilliant work of Eric Rankin, and I really suggest you watch his Sonic Geometry documentary. It's fantastic. It's just watch it. It's a half an hour long on YouTube. Watch that. It'll give you a lot more information. But this is how basic shapes, triangles and shapes in nature, how they all have sound and resonance. This is the sound of nature around us. Every time you look at something that's carved out in a rock or a symbol or the caduceus, everything carries its frequency. And actually, when you're looking at it, you're picking up the image and the sound is entering your subconscious through the fact that you're observing it and looking at it. So it has an effect on you. So when people say, oh, it's just a stupid symbol. No. It has a severe effect on you and your subconscious, but you're just not aware that it's affecting you because you're picking up the sound frequencies of that image. So keep in mind, not only your thoughts are powerful tools, but the images and the words you write are powerful tools. The words that we write. This is why the original letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the 22 letters, are very specific shapes and size and forms. Each letter is actually a two-dimensional representation of the three-dimensional sound of that letter. It's been reduced to 2D. Now you get a better understanding of how that is possible. So the tools that have been given to us of thought, of language, of vocabulary, of letters, of the alphabet, are powerful tools, and this is why wizards and witches could cast spells with their spelling, right? Cast spells, and we do spelling at school, so we're actually learning to cast spells without realizing what we're doing. And this stuff is just so brilliant. When you start breaking this knowledge and this information down, you get into the deeper understanding of the power that we have, the incredible, powerful beings that we are, because we are one with God. We are one with the Creator. We come from the same creative source. And we are all.
And now they're tapping into our subconscious, like how we're feeling, the sounds that are coming from our bodies subconsciously. They're hijacking it by the sounds of it.
I want you guys to have a look at this and then tell me if you think that this was cut using modern machinery and technology. These stones have been cut and tuned to resonate certain frequencies. Now have a listen here. These are called the Sardinia sound stones found in Italy. Apparently, all these were done by this man, Pinocchio Sciola. But I don't know, my intuition is telling me something else is going on here. What do you guys think about this? I want you guys to have a look at this and then tell me if you...
Interesting. It wouldn't be hard to take a giant saw, but the straight lines like that, there's no room for error. That is definitely suspect, 100%.
We have got to keep the laws of nature, and these in turn are the laws of God, or the magnetic field fails. It can fail because of physical intemperances, which reduce its integrity and reduce its power. It can be wasted in riotous living, which is a common cause these days. It can be variously destroyed by moods, by attitude.
Do you hear it clicking? I believe he's getting an electric current from where he's hearing it click, because I think that's a meter. I don't know if he's hitting a button or it's a fake meter, but that's what this is portraying.
By fears, by complexes, it can be destroyed or damaged by alcohol, drugs, narcotics, all kinds of things. But if this field is damaged, it immediately reacts into health. It damages the individual's vitality. It makes him more easily subject to contagions and infections. and it definitely shortens the life expectancy. Now, if this is so, why do we want to consider it as a moral factor? In other words, what is morality? It is obedience with the evident will of deity as manifested in creation. Virtue lies in whatever builds up the magnetic fields. Vice is that which tears them down. Therefore, if we are good, it's not because the book says we should be. It's not because it was thundered by the laws on Sinai. It is because we keep the rules of the integration of the human structure. That we use the magnetic fields correctly and protect our health and our happiness and our well-being in that way. Now we think of the magnetic field as surrounding the entire structure of the body, as Kilner shows. This, however, is only a phase of it. Each part of the body has a magnetic field. It is in the tiniest atom. There is no such a thing as a dead particle in the universe. Therefore, we are confronted with the natural problem of realizing that virtue is to keep the law of the energy field. The energy field is what establishes right and wrong. The energy field tells us that to lose our disposition and temperament is wrong. To use various negative, destructive attitudes is wrong. To compromise the principles of right living is wrong. To think badly, to feel unpleasantly, to be engaged in any action or concept which is contrary to the common good, damages the magnetic field, and therefore is wrong. Selfishness injures that field. Every vice we know, the breaking of any of the 10 Commandments and a number of other rules, result in damage to that field, because the final code itself is based upon the life principle in each part of the human constitution.
What you are seeing here is proof that your body is an electrical circuit. When placing your hands together or your hands with someone else together, it completes an electrical circuit. This raises your frequency because your body's electrical circuit is now flowing freely. It is the real reason why people hold their hands together to pray. It stems from an ancient method of meditation to raise your energy and balance your hemispheres, because the whole body is an extension of the brain. Your brain's a computer controlling the body through electricity. Placing your hands together balances the yin and yang energy within the body, the left and right hemisphere of the brain. Why do you think we pray over food holding hands? By holding hands, we're increasing energy, then casting spells over the food to raise the frequency of the water inside of the food. Everything is vibrating. What you place inside of you will affect your energy levels and vibration. Never eat anything if you're in a bad state of mind or emotions. Every cell, every tree, every object you see has magnetic presence. Magnetism is the creator of the physical world. You must look after your magnetic field. The words you speak, the thoughts you think, the food you eat, the water you drink, all contributes towards the health of your magnetic aura. When the field is damaged, you become sick. It is believed that the field shows illness before your physical body shows illness. Think positive, stay positive, feel positive, and eat electrical live food high in magnetism. Protect your energy.
I tell you guys that these are electrical circuits. That's wild.
Whole survival of the individual depends upon maintaining the integrity of this flow of energy. This energy comes from the sun. It comes through a mysterious energy tube in the magnetic field. It enters the individual through the crown of the head. It disseminates through the entire body, and it's excreted back again through the lower centers of the body and is recleansed by the solar energy. The magnetic theory is based upon a very simple fact, namely that what we call empty air is not empty at all. It is the most profoundly used all the elements that we know anything about. We all live within air and have our being, and we know that if air fails, we die. But what we do not realize is that air is not just some oxygen or helium or something of this nature. Air is something in itself. It is a substance of itself. Ptolemy of Alexandria was one of the first to recognize the manifestations or emanations of solar light as containing an energy in addition to merely a luminous factor. The study of the magnetic powers of the sun will be more or less clearly understood by the study of the seasons. Winter, summer, spring, and these things have all to do with a magnetic factor in the air. Now, what is air, actually? Well, we have scientific definitions of it, but there's something more to it than that. Air is something in itself. It is a... We have got to...
Positive thoughts, positive vibes. If you find yourself in a unpleasant situation, being around someone, I highly suggest you get away from that. Cut it off like a crumpled leaf so it can give the rest of your plant more energy. Epic light show fireworks and lightning collide in a stunning scene in Mustang, Oklahoma. It's like Mother Nature said, I see your fireworks, now hold my beer. That cat is gone. Do you see it? Wait, is it alive?
Giá chín mùi xia.
I never seen a cat so tired in my life. That cat was in the Twilight Zone, wasn't he? A huge black shadow figure in the woods. What is this thing? Uh-oh, is this a possible Bigfoot sighting?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Val, do you see that? Do you see it? He just, do you see that? Do you see that? I'm afraid. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Val, do you see that? Do you see it?
Another blurry Bigfoot sighting added to the list.
The Donald Trump Back to the Future rabbit hole continues. Let's get into it. So just the other day, you guys, it was the 40th anniversary for the classic movie Back to the Future, in which Marty McFly has to go 88 miles per hour, okay, 88, into the future and to the past to make time travel happen. Put a pin in that. In part 2, there is some serious parallels between Donald Trump and the villain Biff Tannen, where he becomes rich and powerful, almost like he was predicting that he was going to be POTUS one day. Now, this version of Biff Tannen, where he gives himself the almanac so he can get rich and powerful, this all has to do with wealth. Now, I said that the number in this movie is 88, 8 being the number of wealth, so here's the thing. If you've been paying attention, Trump keeps mentioning 88 over and over again.
Favor, check the tariff line. They called me back an hour later. Sir, we've taken in $88 billion in tariffs. 11,888 murderers came into our country, and some we've already gotten out, but...
Now, if you paid attention to that last number, it's actually the same number as this executive order, 11888, signed by Ford, which has to do with taxes and tariffs and America's wealth. But that's where it just begins. And while all this is going on, at the same time, isn't it weird after 14 years of being dormant, 8 wallets holding 80,000 Bitcoin worth $8 billion starts to move around again? What are the chances? Now, going back to the movie Back to the Future, again, some major parallels. Look at these headlines where it says Trump pulls off biggest upset, Hill Valley man wins, Biff wins again, Trump wins again, luckiest man on earth. Literally the same thing saying luckiest man on earth, and the title says Back to the Future. Here's another weird thing. The character that was based off of Donald Trump, Biff Tannen, was born in 1937, in which 2025 makes him 88 years old. Not to mention, the same year that Marty McFly goes into the future, 2015, is the same year that Donald Trump runs for president and then later becomes president. And sidebar, 88 years ago, Amelia Earhart disappears, so there's that. Kind of random, but I thought that was pretty interesting too. All in all, my prediction is I think we're about to see something major in the financial world, maybe with crypto, with banks, something with money, so be on the lookout.
Is it a coincidence with the 88? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
All right, guys, I want you to pay attention to the Matrix in live time right here. All right, this is literally city code, guys. Coding. First, right here, this is a red fire tag. This isn't just some utility marker, it's the access stamp. The entry point to the resonance field. Look. It's before anything they register your heat. Fire is the first elemental scan. That's how they read your charge before you enter. The ID graffiti, identity lock, and mesh gate. Once you walk past here, the whole field knows who you are. Not your name, your resonance code. That's the moment they stop you from being water and start shaping you into a little fish. Then boom, downtown. Look at that metal. Corrosion. You're in. This is the front cover. The show. Lights, sounds, heat, motion. All sync to pull energy out of the crowd. This is where the fish gather, thinking they're choosing to be here. They don't realize it's a loop pool, not a free stream. Now, y'all guys can break all this down if you want. We got another access. We got another access to another resonance zone. Look. Tap. Sanctum. Ghost shit. But this right here, this is the real gate, the Grand. Guarded by spiral ironwork. That ain't just for show. It's an antenna grid. The metal catches and holds your frequency. And look up. The crest with the faces, it's a seal. That's the guardian mark. The whole entry is a harmonic signature lock. Once you pass it, your energy is already stored. And you want to see shit in real life time, huh? Y'all guys are familiar with let's see. Boom. Then you got Tesla. Plate says MK71. Mind Key Puzzle 71. And it's a Model 3. Parked dead center. That's a G coil code. Anchoring scalar loops to keep the circuit tight. This Tesla is more than a car. It's a resonance stabilizer. It pulls in stray thought forms and plugs them back into the field. Ghost ship marking. The last name on the parking site. This is the Grand, and the illusion. The downtown is the lore. Ghost ship is where the forgotten ones go. The energy from the little fish who never break free, stored, archived, and repurposed. Ghost ship is where the lost signal loops forever. Sorry guys about the camera. Trying to be kind of secrecy. There's some rather Cartel looking people around. Alright, now UFO slapped next to a detour. This is the decay code. When one fish starts seeing the pattern, the system tries to redirect. UFO.
Is he trying to break out the Matrix?
Traceable frequency output. They hide real structures behind this kind of false disruption. The detour, that's not traffic, that's your mind. It ties into this building. We've been here before, right? We already know how this one works, right? See that metal band across the top too? The whole place is held with a metal band. That's a scalar containment loop. The band holds the whole building's harmonic resonance. It keeps the signal tight, bouncing it through the structure like a tuning fork. Everyone walking under it is stepping into the field. Stay with me, guys. Just here's how they get it all into the air. You got a sketch back alley, right? And you got another ID. That's a mirror code. You see? One end of the block to the other, right? One end of the block. You see those people looking? They didn't like the intention. He doesn't like if he's being recorded. Studio 1. You go look at the other video and look at the names on the board by the door. Fat Babes of Phoenix, The Basement, then there's Grid Talk on it. But you see that dish up there? This is where we end it. This is the broadcast of current. The signals you thought.
There is a dish up there. Okay, I see it. I was looking up there, but it's right here.
Thought were choices, thoughts, cravings, moments of fate, all of it coming from here. This is the mouth of the river, and everything you've seen, every light, tag, gate, loop, it's all coming from this point. The little fish don't even know they're in the water, but once you see the dish, you become the wave.
It's like there was subtle symbology in real life that's showing him that they're trying to steal our subconscious thoughts, is what I'm getting from this. Or they're trying to direct our subconscious thoughts. That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is Super Friday Night. When you drop Super Friday Night in the comments below, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video. You really rock with your boy, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you. This was disturbing videos, creepy TikToks, and flat out mysterious theories that may keep you up all night. I'm Jet Ski Chuck. Till next time.